So we talk a lot about security awareness training, keeping people cyber aware, cyber safe, making sure all their data is safe. But how do we change human behavior? So I am going to pass it off to Connor and Josh. And if y'all want to introduce yourselves for those that don't know who you are, but I kind of think they would because they registered, but who knows?
Maybe
So
not.
I will kick it off to you guys.
Are you moderating or are we taking over?
Y'all are taking over.
Right,
You
Josh?
may hear like the Wizard of Oz from like just the voice come in, but y'all are good to go.
Screams more cowbell from the sidelines.
Always more cowbell.
I guess let's start with some introductions. Josh, why don't you start us off? I feel like most people are here to listen to you anyway. I'm a no name. You're a giant in the industry.
Whoa. That's big words. Hey, everyone. I'm Josh Hohbein, manager of cybersecurity and automation at an MSP called CentrexIT. I've been in the MSP space for a long time now, either been in tech or restaurant the last 20-ish years or so. And restaurant actually plays a large role in especially cybersecurity operations. I've learned a lot. I've given talks on how to apply soft service skills that you learn from restaurant and management into cyber and MSP. And I love cyber awareness. That is probably one of my favorite topics is just teaching humans and changing the culture and how do we keep each other safe and just again build that culture. So this is right up my alley. I'm so excited to talk today.
For those who don't know, what restaurant are you specifically referring to?
Oh, your favorite, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes, maybe if we run out of other exciting content to talk about, I will describe in great detail how important Buffalo Wild Wings is to me in my life and how that somehow came up in conversation with me and Josh. But awesome to have you here. I'm excited as well. I'm Connor. I'm the one of the co-founders at Phin. Probably not nearly as close to an expert in security nor like helping humans be more secure, but I've been working with MSPs and their clients for going on 6 years at this point, building what I think are common sense security awareness programs and trying to help understand why people keep making mistakes, why those mistakes lead to issues, and how do we prevent that, especially in a world where AI exists. I need like one of those streamer panels where every time we say AI, I just click in like a foghorn or something. I need one of those. But yeah, that's Finn. Why don't we start off with why doesn't knowing the right thing automatically lead to doing the right thing?
We're doing our jobs, man. We're busy. Like there's multiple stories out there of security professionals falling for these scams or these tricks. And it's just the threat actors and all of these, it's like almost like they're psychologists, right? They're preying on human behavior. They're scary. And, as most of us in the industry know, like, it's not just the guy wearing a hoodie in the mom's basement, right? The script kiddie thing, like these, especially larger ransomware gangs are ran like legitimate businesses. They have different departments. They work together. Like there's what are called access brokers that their just job is to try to break into places and then sell it. Right. So the people who are doing it like are very, very good at what they do and they know what will and won't work. And humans, I like to say they're the first line of defense and we can beef them up, but also it's said that they're the weakest link. And it is true, right? You are trying to do your job and it can be overwhelming. And, we have to be right all of the time. If we're wrong once, then we fail. We click the link, all of those sort of things, right? The threat actors, if they don't get us, well, they'll just go on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So, it's really hard to bat 100. I mean, if you watch baseball, what's a high level batting average?
300.
Yeah, between 200 and 300, right? So that means they're only hitting the ball a third of the time, not even a third of the time. And our batting average here has got to be, 100%, and that's near impossible.
Yeah, you're describing what's called the defender's dilemma, where an adversary only has to be right once, and then for those, there's an asterisk here. For those of you who are saying, well, no, Connor, no, they don't. They need to be right when they get into the company. They need to be right every time they get more information. It's like, all right, Just let my analogy work here. They only need to be right once, whereas a defender needs to be right all the time in order to be successful. And that creates this another word for lopsidedness. I forget what it is at this point, where it just makes the job much harder.
Well, and again, going on the psychology thing, like in general, we want to do a good job. We want to do the right thing. We want to be helpful. It's in our nature to hold open doors, right? And that's how you lead the tailgating incident. But like, if you're getting, an email that looks legitimate, like, hey, we need this payment, let's update the banking information, send it to this. And you're not like thinking maliciously. You're just like, oh, let me just do this real quick and get it done because I have all these other things to do. And it's just how we are.
When you're structuring training programs and other training related things for end users around security, like what do you start with? How do you start about thinking this, or how do you start the conversation with the client that you're working with to want to use the term like get the most acceptable get the most acceptable program in front of them? Because I
Yep.
always say, it doesn't matter what you deliver to somebody, there's a person who's going to complain. Like you could, this is actually the way I phrased it. You could give everyone a gold bar, and somebody will complain that the gold bar wasn't big enough. That's kind of the. It's like,
Yeah,
listen,
no, it's very true. Personally, what I do when we do our security awareness training rollout, is you just say, hey, here you go. Take this, take this training once a month and you're good, right? That's all you got to do, right? Like, oh, it's not actually, sorry. There's a lot more to it. So I lead by education and let them know, like from day one when they partner with us is again leading by education, knowing we're here to help them, and not only here to help, but we're here to empower them. So before they even get like the first training video or the link on how to use it, I'm going over some basics and how it applies to their daily lives and why their personal matters just as much as their business, and telling stories, especially one from B-dubs, which I can retell here if you'd like. But that was the first security incident I ever worked was happened at B-dubs, social engineering attack. And, as I'm telling these stories, it's like, hey, this, sounds ridiculous, but like this person, isn't, I guess, dumb. Like, yes, there's red flags, but they're just trying to do the job and it could happen to any of us. So we need to be educated on it, but also setting up like it's going to happen. One of you is going to click on something. And when it does happen, like we're here, we want to try to catch it as soon as possible, to minimize damage, to know how to report these things and get excited about, reporting them of like, hey, like I found this weird email or this weird thing, like, look how ridiculous this scam is. Again, just really knowing that they're not alone in this. They have a partner. They're not annoying us by sending, asking questions and things like this. So it starts with acknowledgement and storytelling and just empowering them to do better. And again, being there, knowing that they're not going to get punished, that we don't lead by like, hey, you're going to get fired if you do this, like making it safe to fail. And again, by building that partnership, that trust, if something does happen, hopefully our tools catch it, but if not, you can give us a heads up as soon as possible so we can get to it before it gets worse.
you talked about a lot of things that that you do to make sure things go well and are go as good as they can. What are mistakes that you see organizations make, or maybe that you've made in the past that you're like, oh, I learned from this, and this is what we're going to do differently to help people stay secure?
Well, I mean, it does kind of start with like the, hey, what's the bare minimum? We just want to get by to check the box on the insurance, and like right away, then it's like, okay, that's not what we're trying to do here. Like, and I reason with them. I'm like, look, like I'm a cyber nerd. This stuff does excite me. But normally you're not going to want to spend, all of this time watching these security videos. Like we get it. You're busy. You have other things to do. It's not your job to be a SOC analyst or a cyber person, but these are, important. Like one of the actually bigger pushbacks I got, again, to your gold bar strategy, this person, there was the micro training was about pig butchering scams. And they're like, this is absolutely ridiculous. It has nothing to do with my job. Why are you wasting my time? And it's like, okay, look at the stats. You can pull up like FBI, like how much money has this caused? How much damage has this caused? And I mean, if this happened to you, like, would you not be frustrated? Like, I mean, you want to lose hundreds of thousands, tens of $1,000s. Like, it sucks to be in that position. And obviously I had no idea what it was because, until that, training. So it is just kind of the, hey, you can't just do these to check the box. The other thing is, again, really like, sorry, going back to it. I mean, it's just like, hey, here's the training. Cause it doesn't quite work that way. Like, you do have to be up front and center. If you've watched the IT crowd, that like the sysadmin who just lived in like the server room, it's like that vampire guy. Like, we can't be like that anymore. You do have to build those relationships and be there and be front and center, whether you're at an MSP or whether you're doing security for internal. You do have to have those communications. You can't be the department of no, like, no, you can't do this. Like, this is going to be blocked. Like, it is, let me help you with what you're trying to do in a secure manner. So it's not just checking the box. It is building that partnership and that relationship.
What was that Buffalo Wild Wings story that you
Yeah.
had?
So yeah, I can tell it. So at the time, so just brief, like, worked at B-Dubs. We set the backstory is I was actually still at my MSP. My wife and I had our second child, and our daycare bill was more than our mortgage payment at that time. Our mortgage payment was like $930, and daycare was $1,200 a month. So we could have almost bought a second home with that. But at that point, it's like, well, we were losing money by having my wife work. So we decided to have my wife like stay home. And one of my best friends was the regional manager for this Buffalo Wild Wings franchise. So I went to him and said, hey, my wife's staying home, but we need more money. Can I just bartend, wait some tables for some extra cash? And he's like, oh, heck yeah. Like, I get to boss you around. That sounds awesome. So got me a job, and then had a falling out with the new boss at my first MSP, was venting about it. It's my friend Norm. And he's like, well, why don't you just, like, what number do you need? Just come manage for me. I was like, okay, cool, do it. So made me a front of house manager. And then from there moved to like back of house, and then AGM to general manager to new store opening. So I saw, the whole thing. But at this point I was the kitchen manager, and I got there on a Thursday at 5 a.m. to put away truck. And the new front of house manager, it was like her second week on her own. Her car was there, and someone else's car was in the parking lot and where the employees park. So I was like, well, that's odd, because I've been front of house manager and you're not there past 2 a.m. Like, maybe if it's a UFC fight night gone wrong, you're a little bit later, but like, you're gone by 2, not 5 a.m. So I go in there and she's crying in the office. Her boyfriend's consoling her. The store is a mess. There's still boxes and dishes and all of this stuff. I'm like, what the heck happened? So my first thought is like, we got robbed. Like, someone broke in, robbed the place, all of this stuff. And we did get robbed, but not by anybody who broke in. So after finally calming her down, what had happened is somebody called the store at about 11:30 that night and said they were with B-Dubs corporate, and they knew the name of the regional manager, the general manager, they knew the store number, they knew enough about like the operations to make it seem real. And they said they're with corporate, and these guys have been missing their corporate payments. And if they didn't get them by tonight, then they were going to be arrested for fraud, for theft, and all of this. So we need, this amount tonight, or it's over. And instead of her, calling and confirming or just hanging up, she sent everybody home, and they kept her on the phone, and she emptied out a safe, all the tills, the tip money. It's a couple $1,000s, and sent it all to gift cards to B-Dubs corporate. Obviously not realizing what she did until afterwards, and she told her boyfriend they'd been scammed. So luckily, I activated my incident response plan, which is very lengthy, and I will share it as a gift. My incident response plan was call Norm, and it worked because Norm actually knew what he was doing. So, for that, like, how many of your clients, their incident response plan is call MSP, right? So you better hope that you're the Norm, and he obviously contacted insurance, like called extra people in, all of these things. So we were able to recover, we were able to clean up, got the money back. He sent me to go get breakfast for all of the workers who were going to have to work double overtime, or not overtime, but like work extra hard. and I came back with a Burger King gift card. I thought it was a lot funnier than he did, but he kept it as a souvenir. So all was good, but like, you think about cyber attacks, right? There wasn't a single computer involved with that. That was a phone call to the store. And we didn't fire that person. We used it as a learning example. There was, some disciplinary action, but not, fired, anything. And again, we empowered. I mean, we told the story to the other stores in our franchise. We actually added it to our training as a, hey, these are things that happen, a real world example. Let's, not have it. And luckily we did, because that assumingly same threat actor called 3 or 4 other stores in our region and tried the same thing.
At least you got all the money back. Norm was the MSP of the Buffalo Wild
No,
Wings.
Norm is the regional manager, so
Okay.
he knew what to do in that situation.
Good for Norm.
Yeah, he's got the IR plan, man.
You opened up the binder somewhere in a back room, flipped to a page, blew off the dust, and it was just one line: call Norm.
Yeah, that's all it was. That was on my end anyway. But Norm's binder was quite a bit better.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a question here in the chat about how do you reduce the amount of information that's publicly available to avoid attacker having such convincing details?
It's a tough one, and that's actually part of my training as well. As we talk about social media, is like, I have social media, but realizing that anything you put on there can be used against you. So your privacy settings, keep them friends only and things like that. But there's still, if someone's trying hard enough, they can get there. And to that point, like, I'm guessing they must have called a handful of other times before, because our regional manager's name is not public knowledge. You would have to be an employee to know, or at least a customer. The general manager, you could probably get that information a little easier. But it is tough, is you have to balance that. It's that security and convenience, right? You want to enjoy, keeping in contact with people and things, and have your social media, but it is, limiting. And one of the things that, outside of privacy settings is like, hey, if you're going on trips and things like that, like, just save it, post it when you're back, not during. You just kind of common sense things. And again, we're not super likely to be targeted, but it can happen. It can happen to anyone. So it's just, again, education, awareness.
You talked about pig butchering early, and that's largely with like you find a very high value target, usually a leader at an organization, do a whole bunch of a whole bunch of research. It's a fancy word, research. And then, 5 years ago, you'd probably leverage that to do some other kind of attack. Nowadays, you'd turn that into some deepfakes, you'd turn that into phone calls, you'd turn that into research about their family that would then start calling them. I think the unfortunate thing is, like, how can you reduce the publicly available information? Is, I don't want to be like a doomer, but I kind of want to say it's like impossible. It's like, unless you've gone out of your way to make sure you're not on these social media platforms, your privacy settings are properly tuned, you're not sharing information, you don't have a LinkedIn, you've disconnected from these very large wells of incredibly valuable information that, if somebody was malicious, they could use for malicious reasons. But for 99.99% of the use cases, it's like, oh, Josh just posted another video about a hike that, and actually I just literally paused. Josh, I love hiking. Let me scroll through these pictures and let me see like what the hike looked like. That looks great. So I think, like, changing the information is probably a much more doomer-esque and difficult answer. I actually just gave a talk on deepfakes and how they're getting used. And the whole talk was actually, let's build a deepfake live. This is not something that exists in some far off world. This is something that I'll pull up fresh Google Chrome tab. I'm going to Google how to do these things. And shocker, within 20 minutes, I've made a pretty convincing deepfake of the conference organizer here. That's crazy. And this person's not even like chronically online. This person's online for sure. And that's how I was able to do this, but they're not everywhere. I left the presentation with, like, here is exactly what you can do to actually keep yourself more secure. And like the one piece of advice is, like, the most boring, unsexy advice you'll ever get about cybersecurity is what's going to keep you safe here. It's like, if you have a wire transfer policy, know it and use it.
Yep.
If you have a policy for requesting access to super sensitive information, know it and leverage it. Follow it 100% of the time. It's like, literally follow the policy is like how you prevent this. And I remember an educator that was talking about, like, oh, they teach their people to recognize social engineering scams, specifically deepfakes. Like, look for 6 fingers, or have them put their hand in front of their face. Like, there's all these tricks that they do. I was like, listen, I was like, you can see where this technology is going as well as I can. If it's not impossible today, it will be tomorrow. It's like, unfortunately, it's like, it is indistinguishable. Like, fact from fiction when it comes to online presence at this point are completely indistinguishable. Unless you're talking to the person, unless you have like a communication pathway that is not vulnerable, like it's not email, it's not text messages, even phone calls today. Like, voice is very easy to fake. It's like, unless you have all that, or you like multi-factor it. It's like, I'm going to Slack you, and I'm going to hit you up on your text message, and I'm going to hit you up on Teams. Why would somebody use Slack and Teams at the same time? I don't know, but hey.
Well, you need to have that out-of-band communication. It's your backup, right? You're not. What is the Office? The Wolf method. The fax, the email, everything all at once.
WEHF, Wolf.
But yeah, it is important to have, because that's your fallback. Is, hey, like, you can't distinguish, but if your policy is some sort of human MFA, some sort of verification every time, it would prevent it. The MGM grant, I use that, all the time. It's like, hey, cool. They went on LinkedIn. They saw who this person worked in IT. They called the IT help desk and said, hey, I'm so-and-so. Please reset my password. Now, obviously, it's a little different from that, but big picture, that's kind of what happened. And then they did the same thing and pivoted to another account. So, make sure you're doing some sort of help desk verification. First off, please, level 1, if you take anything back, make sure you're doing that, because, your clients call in and say, hey, I need to reset my password. Well, how do you know it's the client, right? Don't be MGM.
That's absolutely true. I get, not to put you on the spot, but like, when a customer calls in, or you're calling a customer, how do they know they're talking to Centrex?
That's the other thing. Right? It's kind of that, training, that two-way of, hey, we're going to, provide like basically a little push notification or a code. So don't provide access to Centrex unless we give you the code. And on the other side, you call in and you submit a ticket. We're just going to verify you quick. Like, yeah, it takes a couple of extra seconds, but it's well worth it.
It should be. Is another great question here. Policy is great for security, but executives often press for exceptions. How do you change behavior when internal pressure make the friction versus security control with policy harder to do?
Again, it goes basically to that education and using the stories and telling, like, especially the managers of the key leadership, because we've had it where, like, oh, the CEO is like, no, I don't want MFA, whatever. And it's like, you realize that you are the most targeted, the most valuable, all of these things, and showing them that and giving, you don't sell by fear, or FUD is the term, right? But just laying out the facts of, like, you guys are on the website. So then I'll go ahead and I'll do like you said, the OSINT. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a threat actor now. I'm going to your website. I'm going to the LinkedIn. You guys appear, your frontline workers don't, right? So yes, we need to protect them, but like, you are much more likely to be targeted and attacked and compromised. So if anything, you guys actually need stricter controls, not less controls. Yeah. And ultimately, if they don't want to do it, it's their business, right? So then you got to go through the whole, like, risk register and sign off on this. And then, I'm not legal, but there's things you can sign. They might hold up, they might not. But again, it always goes back to just, again, not saying no right away, but like explaining, educating, like, hey, what's your business case for not wanting to do this? Like, is there an acceptable workaround? Like, oh, you don't want to type in a number? Okay, well, there's these things called passkeys, and, maybe some conditional access policies. There might be ways around it, but getting to that root cause, and again, just understanding, taking some extra time to understand the why behind it, can kind of help. And then again, education and working with them to find a legitimate compromise.
When you're talking with these executives that, you know, they're managing budgets, they're trying to grow revenue, they're, EBITDA. Uh, what I'm trying to point out here without like making light of it is security is one of dozens of pressures that these executives have.
Yep.
And speaking I don't wonder if you'd agree with me. It's like most executives that you ever meet, they put security at the very bottom of the list of priorities. And so anytime Josh reaches out and is like, hey, we need to be doing this thing because it's going to, make you guys more secure. And here's why. Sometimes there's this internal reshuffling of like, okay, maybe I should reprioritize. I should make this more important. And it's not that impactful in terms of like time required to do these things like MFA. So I'll just do it. And other times they just tell you to F off.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to, and this is where I'm so thankful for like my restaurant management experience is like, I've ran a business. Like I understand the numbers and things behind it and like the why that we have to do it and talking in dollars and cents. Sometimes like each executive, especially when it comes on like the cyber side and you're working with SMBs or executives, like they're going to have a different level of technical knowledge. So some you can get in the technical weeds with, some they don't care. And you just need to talk like in a way that they understand and having that those soft skills to be able to relate. Same thing. It's dumb, but like when I was a server, I liked to be personable, but some people, they come in, they don't want to talk. They want, hey, here's my order. I want to enjoy my food, keep my drinks refilled. Whereas other tables are like, they're here for a good time and they'll joke back with you. And, you get to talk some trash on their sports team and all of those things and have fun, but you need to identify really quickly what kind of table that is. And it's the same kind of thing as you meet these people and you, especially as you're building relationships, you find out what makes them tick, what really, how they like to communicate. And you can, again, tailor your recommendations to that.
That makes a lot of sense. Destiny says here, requirements from auditors, cyber insurance, and third-party contracts also don't make these optional to maintain. I'd like to split that into two decisions that companies often make is one, do you adopt a security program? And then the second, and arguably more, well, I want to say more important, also very important is do you adopt a good security program? It's like checking the box is, I forget the way Tim always used to say this. It's like it's the start. It's a lot of people view it as the finish line, but it's actually the start. Security is not something that is a box checking exercise, even though like it's very important we have compliance frameworks. It's very important we understand when and cyber insurance will and will not pay out based upon the expectations the underwriter has of you and your business. I always, as long as you can split it into two decisions, it's like easier to make. It's almost asking your kid if they want peas or carrots instead of asking if they want vegetables. It's like, well, it's like you don't want it. Like I'll bring it to awareness training because that's what we do. But it's like, do you want to not have cyber insurance, or God forbid something happens? I looked at your policy the same as you did, and here's what it says is going to happen. Boom, no payout. I'm like, oh no, I don't want that. All right, let's do the bare minimum. It's like, all right, I'll literally check off the box. All right, we got them committed to that. Now we'll work on it. It's like, hey, like maybe we should do it in these ways. And if you gave me this bit of information, we can make things relevant to the specific people at your company. Do you have any feedback from them? Do they want this to change? Do they not want it to change? What do they like? What do they not like? And then you can start working on good. Do or do not do. There is no check a box.
Yes, there you go. I like it. No, again, it goes back to just building that relationship. I think it's building the trust too. Is one of the adverbs or whatever that I don't know what to call it, metaphors that I like to do is I grew up in the Dakotas, right? We have farmland everywhere. If you have a $1,000 cow, and I know they're way more than that, but you're not going to build a $10,000 fence around them. So it's like, trust me, client, like I'm not just making you do these things because I want more money, like keeping them safe. I'm not going to ask you to do something unreasonable. But if you feel it's unreasonable, let's have a conversation about why you feel that way and what are some alternatives. For our, security practice, it's like, hey, again, lawyers, CPAs, you guys are extremely busy. So can we front load or load during the off season, like an hour instead of a couple minutes, you know, or a couple minutes a month. Let's figure out what works for you guys and at least, you know, check the box and keep it growing on what we can do.
When MSPs are having this conversation, what do you find that successful MSPs are doing differently? Like, how are they able to convince companies to, you already mentioned FUD is one. I would not recommend
Yeah.
that. Hey, maybe it's working, but how are they communicating? I'm not going to say
Yeah.
convincing because even that has a negative connotation. How are they communicating the value of security and then properly aligning that with friction and risk and saying, all right, I'm right sizing your security program, and then they communicate that in such a way that people who don't do this day in day out can actually understand.
Well, align. So it actually, I think, starts more with the MSP, aligning to the framework, and then your core offering is like, hey, these are the kind of the bare minimum things that you need to do to be protected. So kind of just having that all included is a success. And then obviously security doesn't just end. You're never secure enough. So then it's okay, let's look at compliance and policies and stuff to strengthen that. But at the very minimum, you know, your cyber insurance or regulatory requirements are kind of built into the offerings. You know, one of the other talks I give, and you know, pardon my French, but it's like how to align to a framework for people who don't give a shit about frameworks, because most of your clients, unless they're in a heavily regulated industry, they don't care. They're just like, make sure my computers work and I'm safe. So it's kind of on you to have that and building your core offerings around aligning to that framework, whatever it might be. You know, I've given out, like, we have a simplified version of CIS plus cyber insurance controls, which makes it a little easier to tell the story and to adopt. But again, if you choose one of those, just make sure that you're aligned to some sort of the framework on the offering and base minimum. And then again, the education, the alignment, and really showing that trust. As you can say all of those things you want, but when you show up and when you prove that you are doing what you say that you're doing and recommending something and then showing results, you're again just building more and more of that trust.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And again, like, one of the other things going back to the restaurant that I talked about, I actually had a sign in the beat ups kitchen. And it's like, just do the basics right. It's like, when you go to beat ups, there's nothing, you eat there, what, a couple times a week, if I remember correctly, at least once a week, like, you know.
Oh, airing me out live.
Yeah. Bus. Hey, there's nothing wrong with, but like, it's not like, it's not a fancy restaurant, right? You're not going there for a gourmet meal. They're going there, like, the sauces are the star. And we talked to Asian Zing's the best one, but like, you've probably had some crappy experience, and like, all we need to do is like fry some wings, man, and make sure that they're fresh. Like, corporate standards are the wings don't sit in the drawer for more than, I don't remember, 6 or 8 minutes, things like that, whatever. But like, all we got to do is just do the basics right and serve hot food and make it a decent meal. And it's the same thing when it comes to the security, is like, we do the basics right. You can give some razzle of like, one of the other things I always suggest is, if there is an email compromise, a business email compromise, even if you stop it within seconds of it happening, or any other security incident or event, like, make a CAPA, like, make a corrective and plan of actions. So like, timeline, this is what happened. Here's all of the things around it. This is the preventative. And then this is what we can do to reduce it going forward. You have like an after action report. It definitely makes you look really good, because there are a lot that don't do it, and it's appreciated. So do the basics really well. And you find that you're going to have success.
Doing the basics makes you already, 9 steps ahead of most most individuals as well. And there was this analogy of the bear chasing 2 businessmen in the woods. One guy opens his briefcase, starts putting on his tennis shoes, and the guy's like, "Dude, bears can run at 40 miles an hour. Like, this is pointless." He's like, "Dude, I don't have to outrun that bear. I just have to outrun you." And where I was going with this is, everyone's wondering, like, oh, how does AI change this? There's AI on the defense side, there's AI on the attacking side, but what does this actually do? And my answer has usually been, I think that analogy of the bear and the business is you just need to be more secure than the other businesses that are in the purview of these malicious actors. I think the only thing it's probably done is there's more than one bear chasing you now.
Yep.
And I'm saying that not because there's, instead of one nation state attacking you, there's four, and so there's four bears. I'm saying it doesn't even need to be a nation state at this point. The When I gave the presentation last week to 100 small business owners on how easy it is to create a deepfake, I started the conversation by saying, I want you to leave this presentation understanding how easy it is for anyone in the world with $0. I don't need money. I don't need a wallet. If I had even a crypto wallet, which anyone can get, this makes it 100 times easier. But anyone around the world with an internet connected device and 30 minutes of spare time could do the research I'm doing right now, could access the tools I'm going to access, and could do what I'm about to do.
Yeah, I do something similar when I do the cyber awareness, when I do my cyber training, is I stood up an Evil Jinx server, which for the non-technical people, that's usually, and don't get me wrong, there are like phishing as a service that makes it even easier where it's a click of a button. But I went through and I downloaded an Evil Jinx server on my machine, and I show, like, I have a 6-minute YouTube video that I talk over that I've recorded, but I hack my email and I show like it bypassing the MFA, and I go through the whole thing. I'm like, guys, I am not a coder. Like, I've been in the industry for a long time. I don't understand this, but I know how to hit Control C and Control V, and I'm willing to bet you guys on this call do too. Let me show you how easy it is to hack emails. I'm like, don't quit your day job and get in trouble for this. But like, I go through and I show, like, this is how you create a lure, and you create the link, and you like domain registration, super easy. Like, here you go to GoDaddy, you pay a couple, $10, whatever. Right. And, so I go through and I show how to hack an email and how simple it is and why it works. And I'm like, there you go. Like, anybody here with $20 and an internet connection can pull this attack off, and your wire fraud gets you tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, sometimes millions of dollars. And that's why it's so prevalent. So like, now each of you, how many people on this call now know how to hack an email. And if you know how to do it, that means you know what to look for and know how to defend it. Right. It's, and why it works. It's like the Nigerian scam emails, like, yes, they're still out there, like the bad, grammar, misspellings, all of those things. They're just not as prevalent, right? How it happens is Connor's email gets compromised, and they sit on Connor's and they look and say, hey, is Connor involved in any financial stuff? If so, then yes, we're going to hide the emails and do the wire fraud. But if not, he's going to blast everybody. And now I get an email from Connor, and I'm like, I talk to Connor all the time. Well, oh, he's got a new, like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to open this, and now, like, they move laterally, and it's like they can mimic how Connor talks. Like, it's that's why it's so prevalent. So again, it goes leading by that education. And when they see like how easy it is, of like, holy crap, like, I could do this. And hopefully it doesn't give everyone a bad idea to start doing it. I make that disclaimer, but it's the same kind of thing. And I think it's so much more powerful to show rather than tell. Like, I truly believe it makes a difference. And, if you don't want to do it, or if you don't, want to download it and figure it out, there's plenty of other, like John Hammond on YouTube. There's things that you can find to show. But again, you're also empowering your client, and it's like you're letting them on this inside secret of like, holy crap, like, I didn't realize it was that easy. And then, they take it home and they're like, I learned something really cool today. Like, I learned how to hack an email, and they kind of talk to other employees and things like that.
Yeah, that's very true. I have a comment on the Nigerian prince scams, because I used to kind of believe that they were really stupid. It's like, there's no way that this would work. This is just how bad malicious actors are. They're all this dumb. Like, I wanted to like infantilize malicious actors. And like you had said about the ransomware gangs, it's like, no, these are highly organized, highly motivated, very wealthy, very intelligent groups of people who are sometimes funded by the enemies of, we're in America, so they're funded by the enemies of America to do a job, which is to essentially, sow discord and steal money. But so I was thinking about Nigerian prince scams, and I was just talking about it with a buddy of mine named Reg Harnish, actually, which I believe Reg. put him online, and he goes, Connor, like I think he said something to the tune of like, Connor, you're an idiot. Like you've actually just got it completely wrong. Nigerian print scams are the best sales process that the world has ever seen. I was like, you're gonna have to explain this one to me. He's like, what are you talking about? He said, they'll send that stupid email with all the bad English and all the misspellings from the random characters at gmail.com email, send it to 100,000 people. And inside of an hour, they identified the 10 people that are actually going to fall for it. And they ignore the other 999,000. I was just like, actually, that makes a ton of sense. My Grammy? Yeah. You caught her on that? Done. And my inheritance gone. Like it's going somewhere, but it's not to me. And I have another story about my Grammy. But anyway, that like Nigerian is absolutely true. And now we exist in a world, to go back to a comment I made earlier about deciphering what's fact and what's fiction online, is if it isn't impossible today, it will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's already very impossible. I'm just going to lead with my belief here. And so that goes with email, that goes with video, that goes with audio, that goes with anything you're consuming through a screen. The only thing that can't really be faked is like the in-person communication. And do you know a video game streamer by the name of Pirate Software?
I do not. No,
Okay.
not up on my video game streamers.
He's a streamer now, but he worked in security, and so he got really popular. And as streamers do when they get popular, he starts getting swatted. People start trying to mess with him. So he literally walked into his bank and he had them sign an agreement with him. He wrote an agreement that was essentially, if you approve any transfers out of any of my accounts, and I am not in here in person with 2 forms of identification to do it, you're liable. Because he's like, his statement was, faking identity through online submissions, incredibly easy. Faking my likeness through a video call or voice, incredibly easy. He's like, I'm perpetually online. I'm everywhere. You could probably clip words that I've said and not even fake my voice. It's actually my voice strung together in different sentences. And I was like, damn, are we getting to a world where like that's what we're going to have to do? It's like we're getting away from remote work and back to, the attacks are so bad that we actually have to work in person with each other in order to know we're not getting screwed. I was like, I hope not, but I don't know, maybe.
I want to bring another comment up. So Ashley posted in there, and hi Ashley. Ashley's awesome. I got to talk with her many years ago, and we've kept in touch over the years. But she's an incredible security researcher. If threat actors are able to target the top 10 employees for that sort of BEC Nigerian print scam, why aren't we doing that doing that now for our own orgs? And that's another thing that I talk to is like, I'm not a hacker. Like I know how to do the evil jinx. Like I know how to control C, control V. What's funny is like when it shows all of the things it steals, I literally tell them like, I have no idea what any of that means, but there's a command that you type in and it's like, cool, here's all the information. So I've been in the industry. Like I know, the tech, the risk and things like that. I'm 100%. I am a script kiddie. But social engineering, the human aspect, like I understand that part of it. And one of the things that I first did when I joined my MSP, I was like, hey guys, like if I were to hack you, this is how I would do it. And how are you going to stop me? Like if I'm going to be able to do it, like there's people that are way smarter than me that like are going to be able to do it. So like if I'm able to get in, that's not good. And the same thing with the clients is like, hey, like I'm a good guy here. Like, so you're lucky. But like, this is, if I were to target you guys, like this is how I would do it. And then it's like, okay, well, shoot, maybe we need to fix that. Or looking at the phishing simulations, it's not just, hey, you clicked all of these, or you clicked the link, like all of these things. It's like, no, let's take a look at what actually would happen in that scenario if you had clicked it. Oh, your daily drivers also has admin permissions. Well, you've just lost your domain and your 365 tenant. So those need to be separate, and that's why. Or not only that, it's like, okay, you clicked it, like you're going to be down for an hour or so. Like that's an hour that you would have lost work while we're doing the research and things like that, making sure there's no lateral movements. So again, it's going on that education, and just not selling by, again, it's not selling by fear, but like you're working with them to help them understand.
Yeah. I'm going to pose a question, or maybe I don't know if it'll be a question just yet, but it's a thought I had. Based on what Ashley was saying, why aren't we doing that for our own orgs? I think there's currently, I want to say, on the less technically complex or less skilled, there's like phishing simulations that people get sent. They can be
Mhm.
good, they can be bad, but they're just phishing simulations. On the complex end of the spectrum, there are entire companies that are engaged to do penetration tests. Some of that involving dropping rubber duckies in the parking lot to see what
Mhm.
happens. I've heard all the stories. I feel like there should be something in between, because right now, like, those are actually the two ends of the spectrum. It's like, we're going to send
Yeah.
you tests, or we're going to do this very expensive one-time engagement, which most of your clients probably don't want to pay for. It doesn't make sense to pay for something like that. And then you'd have to bring in other experts. The price just keeps going up and up
Well,
and up.
yeah, I would say it goes back to like doing the basics right. Like if I'm like, okay, like I can't like, and anyone could be hacked, targeted. Like if you give somebody enough time, I think it's going to happen to almost any organization. But again, if you're the basics, or I'm like, okay, well, yes, like you could get phished, and then we can compromise you, but like you maybe are using, okay, you got UB keys, like, all right, you have firewalls but no management is open to the external, like, okay, well, all right, you can call a help desk, oh, but you got verification, like, man, we've covered a lot of our bases, like this could still happen, but like we have a lot of layers and stuff in place. So it's almost like I guess what I would say to that or do is that middle ground is kind of a more like cyber posture assessment. And again, you have another talk on this one because it's one of the things that it does. Like I get a little riled up about is in our industry is the cyber assessments. And I'll just go on a tangent here if you let me. Um, there's a multitude, and exactly to your point of like there's some super basic ones where it's like we're going to do an external vulnerability scan, and sometimes they'll even say it's a pen test because they're trying to get into the external. It's not a risk assessment, right? Like, and sometimes even is some places will even scan your website and it's like, hey, we found these vulnerabilities. Cool. My website's hosted by some hosting company, so that vulnerability doesn't affect my company at all. Like, they need to figure it out, but like, there's no risk to my company. I don't host my website. So then you're yelling at them to like figure it out. It's like, hey, I have this risk and all of these things. So, all right, external scans. Some of them will do a dark web scan and they'll be like, hey, Connor, ooh, you got stuff on the dark web. Like, are you scared? You need our security services to make sure your stuff isn't hacked. It's like, dude, everyone's on the dark web. What is it? Like, what does it actually mean that it's out there? And you can talk about password hygiene. Some of them will just say, hey, Connor, here's 50 questions. Go ahead and answer these. And then they'll set up a meeting and it's like, well, based on how you answer these, this is how we see your risk. But they're not verifying anything, right? That's just a like it's a guided self attestation. On the other side, you can have very expensive pen testing or firms that'll do a very in depth, like we're going to align you to NIST and you got to upload evidence. And then you get this like giant PDF that's got a lot of pie charts and it's pretty. And then here's like 1,000 column like CSV. And then especially on the SMB side, they're looking at this like, well, this looks nice, but what the hell does it actually mean? So I think the middle ground is a combination of the you have to do a phone scan, obviously. There are things again that you do have to ask what they have, so a little bit of the questionnaire, but you have to dig in and look at some configurations. Like look at their firewall, their Active Directory, their Microsoft 365, and just like if you were to harden it, what settings would you do? And again, what's that risk? And you combine all of those things. You send a phishing campaign, and it is, I mean, it's a paid engagement, but it's not a $15,000 pen test. But it's also not just a basic thing. So it does give you that kind of posture of where it is. And the bonus points, so you align them to the framework, you have a roadmap, so they know what to fix, in what order. And then if they fix everything on the roadmap, they're aligned to a framework. So it's like, cool, this is what we do next. So that's my little tangent on risk assessments.
Yeah, scanning for open ports and giving a thumbs up is definitely not a penetration.
Yeah.
I think that's actually like a microcosm of a conversation we had earlier, which is I think there are so many people who are so many. I'm not going to call them malicious. Maybe they're just improperly motivated. They're going to represent that to a swath of business owners and say, no, we're doing actual penetration tests. We're doing a security and a risk assessment. Here's what we're doing. And then they pawn off that as a risk assessment or a security assessment. And then at some point, somebody else like you comes along and you're like, hey, I don't know how much you paid for this, but I really hope it wasn't more than like $100. This is not, this is not usable. Like, let me go to this website and let me show you how I can actually do exactly what they did. And I'm not going to charge you a thing. I'll teach you how to do it yourself right now. And that leaves such a bad taste in most people's mouth where they're like, oh, I know so little about IT and cybersecurity and infrastructure and networking and how all of this actually fits together. I know how to operate my computer and how to get to my Microsoft, but that's about it. That they're like, I know so little, like these people, all of them are just out to get me. They're all here to take advantage of me. I don't trust them at all. And, for that reason, I'm out. To quote Randy from, to quote Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank.
Yeah, I just put it in chat, but like that's the truth of it. Is like most security, it's not sexy. It's not wearing a hoodie in the dark, like trying to go after these hackers or defending, and like you got your matrix code on the screen. It's policies, it's procedures, it's game plans, doing the right thing, education. You can try to make it fun, but like it's not very sexy. And it was funny as I was actually asked to talk. Some guy on Discord asked if I would talk to, I don't remember what university it was, but it was a class of like 30 or some people who are going through a cyber program. And I came in and I gave him that little spiel of like, guys, like, I know you're excited by cyber. When you get into the real world, like, it's not very sexy. It's kind of boring. And these are the things like your soft skills that are going to set you apart, and like understanding kind of the underlying tech and how it works and things like that. And it was funny is like, I feel like I popped some dreams a little bit. But like, they're like, no, that was like really good practical information and important to hear. Cause yeah, it's like, cool. Cyber it's been I don't know if it's still the buzzword because now AI is kind of taking it over, but it's like, cyber pays super well. You get all these boot camps, you get into it, and you take your 4 years bachelor's degree, and then you get into the real world and like, you don't know how directory works or things like that. And don't get me wrong, the schooling is important. I don't want that to be the takeaway, but there is a lot more to it than the coding and the fun stuff.
I think we've seen a very similar thing with, I saw Mary just turned her camera on, which means we probably talked for too long.
Oh,
No, I think that Destiny had a great wrap up.
Basics and fundamentals all day, every day.
That's right.
Yeah, she's doing my job for me. I'm like I'm the bookmark to your or bookends to your conversations. But this has been great. I just wanted to say, do you have like just one piece of advice or one, I guess, conversation starters for MSPs to use with their clients that are maybe a little hesitant to jump on the cybersecurity bandwagon?
I'm gonna let Josh go. Go first.
I guess the one piece of advice, I mean, heck, the right thing would just be to do it. Just force it, right? If make it as part of your offering to do the basics. Like, hey, we need to do this to do the job. But it is, I would say, on that part, it's exactly what I've preached, and forgive me for repeating myself, but lead by education and don't butt heads. Like, you're trying to do the same thing. The business owner is trying to do their business to make the money. You're trying to secure them. So figure out how we can work together. And again, listen and be empathetic as to why they don't want to do it, and figure out some sort of compromise to where you can empower them and make them secure, and they can still do their business. And yes, there might not be a happy middle ground. But if you can at least reduce the risk the best you can, then you've lived to fight another day, and you can keep working at it.
I love it. Connor?
This was the, what's one piece of advice you'd give organizations to build lasting security? That one. There's a lot I would like to say. I'll give the advice that I get. So I used to do presentations to. Do you know what small business development centers are, Josh?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, they're part of SBA, Small Business
Yep.
Administration. Yeah, and they're designed to help people start businesses, fund businesses, or whatever. They do everything from helping you craft business plans to apply for loans to everything. So I gave presentations to these business owners, small business owners, and or people who wanted to start them on cybersecurity. And I would start by like, it's like, oh, here's all the stuff you're probably hearing about in the news. Why you're interested in this presentation is probably because you saw some crazy attack and you want to know, oh, is that going to happen to me in my hometown? Is my gas going to get shut off because somebody decided to, I don't know, bomb the transfer point or whatever? And like, there's flaws in our infrastructure here in America. And I'm like, nope. Well, can that happen? Sure. Will it happen? Almost certainly not. I'm not going to sit here and say no. But I would go back to 5 things that they could do, which were all like, these are super basic things where I was like, I promise nothing's going to be more than 3 syllables. I'm not even going to use a single acronym. And it was like, use a password manager. Please do not use a Google Doc. I always hate people too. This is actually what I'll leave you with. If you're using a book to write your passwords and you store that at home, that's better than 99% of people already. Cool. Have your book, do it. If your house burns down and you lose that book, you're toast. But that's a separate risk. So I would always say, like, use a password manager. Make sure that you have a guest and a private Wi-Fi so that like when people come over, they can't just, and make sure you have, it's like, check the settings on your Wi-Fi. And now you could use AI to say, hey, are these settings okay? So there's like really low effort, low lift things you can do that cost $0 that are all just common sense things that make you meaningfully more secure. And the third one was that I would say, I would always give advice, and Josh already said this. It's like, just install MFA. Just do it. Like, oh, but I hate it. Yeah, I hate that I have high cholesterol. I'm still going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Maybe that's actually not good. Yeah, I installed MFA though. So pretend in this world, I decided not to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, or at least get the naked tenders when I go, so it's not deep fried.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I think end users need to hear, since you asked me, was that they need to know that, like, especially where security awareness training comes in, like what they learn at the office is going to protect them at home too. And like share that information with your Grammy because she's not getting it. So I think that
my Grammy's definitely not getting it.
So it's not just about work. It's like, this is a tool that's going to help you everywhere. So I think that's my little soapbox I'll get off of now. But thank you everyone who joined. Josh put a link in how to join with him on LinkedIn or connect with him. Connor's going to do the same, I bet, because I see him typing, or he's inviting y'all to Buffalo Wild Wings.
So where we have our cyber meetups, we have B-dubs.
That's awesome. Well, thank you everyone. I appreciate it. And y'all have a good day and stay safe.
Whatever day you want. Hope it's a good one.